Welcome to Life Stories, where we share heartfelt tales that inspire and uplift. Today, we bring you the incredible journey of Emily Carter, a small-town waitress whose simple act of kindness transformed her life and the lives of those around her. Through challenges, resilience, and the unwavering belief in compassion, Emily's story shows us how one moment of generosity can ripple into something extraordinary. Join us as we dive into this moving tale of hope, empathy, and the power of paying it forward. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories to begin today's journey with us. Emily Carter had always been a believer in the quiet strength of kindness, even though her own life seemed to test her faith in it at every turn. At 26, Emily worked long, exhausting shifts at Willow's Diner, a cozy little spot nestled on the main street of Cedarville. A small town where everyone knew each other by name. The diner, with its worn booths and the familiar smell of fresh coffee and pancakes, had been a second home to her for years. It was where she spent most of her time, pouring coffee, taking orders, and sharing warm smiles with patrons. Even when her own heart was weighed down with worries, Emily lived in a modest studio apartment just a few blocks from the diner. The walls were adorned with peeling wallpaper, and the windows let in a chill on colder nights. But it was home. To Emily, the imperfections were reminders of her resilience. Though lately, even her strength felt tested. Rent was due in 5 days, and she was still $50 short. Tips had been inconsistent, and her hours, though long, barely seemed enough to keep up with the mounting costs of utilities, groceries, and her modest attempt to save for nursing school. A dream she had held onto since she was a child. Nursing wasn't just a career goal for Emily, it was a calling. She remembered the care and compassion of the nurses who had attended to her mother during a long illness years ago. Watching their gentle yet skilled hands work to ease her mother's pain had sparked something deep within her, a desire to be the kind of person who could bring comfort to others in their most vulnerable moments. But that dream felt further away with each passing day as bills and responsibilities piled higher. That Wednesday evening, the diner was quiet, with only a few patrons scattered around. The muted hum of conversation and the clink of utensils against plates filled the room. Emily was wiping down the counter when the door chimed, and a woman in her mid-30s stepped in with 2 young children. The woman looked tired, her face etched with the lines of someone carrying a heavy load. But her smile was warm. The children, a boy and a girl, bounced with excitement as the smell of burgers and fries greeted them. Emily greeted them with her usual cheer, leading them to a booth near the window where the soft glow of streetlights streamed in. As she watched the mother glance at the menu and then at her children, Emily could sense the quiet calculation in her movements. It was something she understood too well, deciding what to order while mentally counting the dollars in her pocket. Her heart tugged as the boy eagerly pointed to a burger, and the girl whispered something about chocolate milk. Emily approached their table with a smile. "Hi there. I'm Emily. What can I get for you tonight?" The woman returned the smile, polite but hesitant. "We'll start with 2 kids' meals," she said, her voice soft. "And for me, I'll just have coffee." Emily's chest tightened. She remembered her own childhood, growing up with a single mother who worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. Eating out was a rare and special occasion for them. But even then, there was always a quiet awareness of the cost. She jotted down the order and said warmly, "Coming right up." As the children laughed and played with the crayons provided by the diner, Emily found herself smiling despite her own worries. She slipped an extra portion of ketchup onto their tray when she brought over the food. Something small but meaningful, and lingered just long enough to see the joy on the children's faces as they dug into their meals. When the plates were cleared and the check was dropped off, Emily noticed the mother whispering to her oldest child, who pulled out a small wallet with shaky hands. Emily didn't mean to overhear, but the words rang clear, the cards declined. The mother's face flushed with embarrassment as she looked up at Emily, her voice trembling. "I'm so sorry. I thought I had enough on this card. Let me." Emily held up a hand gently, It's okay. I'll take care of it. The woman's eyes widened, a mix of gratitude and disbelief crossing her face. No, I can't let you do that. We'll figure something out. Maybe I can. Really. It's fine. Emily insisted softly, her voice firm but kind. Let me cover it. It's on me. The mother's lip quivered as she blinked back tears. Thank you. I'll pay you back. I promise. Emily smiled, shaking her head. Just pay it forward when you can. As the family left with tearful thanks, Emily returned to the counter, her emotions swirling. Covering the $40 tab was a significant hit to her already strained budget. And she glanced at the near-empty tip jar with a pang of worry. But even as doubt crept in, she didn't regret her decision. The happiness on those children's faces, the relief in their mother's eyes, it was worth every penny. Later that night, as Emily walked home under the glow of the streetlights, the cold air biting at her cheeks, she couldn't help but wonder if she had made the right choice. Rent was looming, and the $50 she still owed felt heavier than ever. But when she thought of the mother's grateful expression and the children's laughter, a small, hopeful smile played on her lips. She might not have much, but she had enough to help someone else. And somehow, that felt like enough. The days after Emily's act of kindness passed in the usual rhythm of long shifts. The scent of fresh coffee, and the comforting chatter of patrons. Though the weight of her unpaid bills pressed heavily on her shoulders, Emily found solace in the thought that her gesture had perhaps lightened the burden of another family. She wondered about the mother and her children, if they had managed to sort things out. If her small effort had made any lasting difference. On Saturday evening, the diner was alive with activity. The clinking of plates and the buzz of conversations filled the air. As Emily darted between tables with practiced ease, she delivered orders, refilled coffee cups, and greeted customers with the warmth that made her a favorite among regulars. By the time the rush began to wind down, Emily's feet ached, but her spirits remained steady. The familiar chime of the diner's door caught her attention, and she glanced up to see a sharply dressed woman enter. Her tailored blazer and small leather briefcase set her apart from the usual crowd, and Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she looked familiar. The woman scanned the room, her eyes settling on Emily. A warm smile spread across her face as she approached the counter. "Hi there," Emily greeted, slipping into her professional tone. "Table for one?" The woman shook her head, her smile deepening. "Actually, I was hoping to speak with you." "Are you Emily Carter?" Emily blinked, her heart skipping slightly. "That's me. How can I help you?" The woman gestured to an empty booth by the window. "Do you have a moment to sit down? I promise I won't take much of your time." Emily hesitated, glancing around the diner. Her coworker Maria, standing behind the counter, gave her an encouraging nod. Taking the silent permission, Emily led the woman to the booth and slid into the seat across from her. The woman's expression softened as she leaned forward. "You probably don't remember me, but a few nights ago, my kids and I were here. My card didn't work, and you covered our meal." Recognition flashed across Emily's face. "Oh, of course, you had the two little ones. How are they?" "They're wonderful," the woman replied, her smile widening. "They couldn't stop talking about you for days. My youngest even drew you a picture to say thank you." Emily chuckled softly. "That's so sweet of them. I'm just glad everything worked out for you." The woman's smile grew more serious but remained kind. "What you did for us meant more than I can say. I was humiliated when my card didn't work. It turned out to be an issue with my bank. But in that moment, I felt so vulnerable. Your kindness turned what could have been a horrible memory into something I'll always cherish." Emily shifted uncomfortably, her humility making it hard to accept such heartfelt praise. "It really wasn't a big deal. I just wanted to make sure you and your kids were okay." The woman reached into her briefcase and pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table. "That's why I'm here. I wanted to thank you properly." Emily hesitated, her hands hovering over the envelope. You didn't have to do this. Really. I was happy to help. Please, the woman insisted gently. This isn't just for the meal. It's for what you showed me, kindness, compassion, and humanity. The world needs more of that. And I want to make sure you know how much it mattered. Cautiously, Emily opened the envelope. Her breath caught as she saw the check inside. The amount was far beyond anything she could have imagined, enough to cover her rent, her overdue bills, and even leave some for savings. I don't know what to say, Emily whispered, tears welling in her eyes. The woman's smile remained steady. You don't have to say anything. Just promise me one thing. Emily met her gaze, her voice trembling. What's that? Promise me you'll keep being who you are. Keep spreading kindness. Emily nodded, unable to speak. She clutched the envelope tightly, overwhelmed by the sheer generosity of the gesture. The woman extended her hand. By the way, I'm Sarah Bennett. My brother Michael owns this diner chain. Emily's eyes widened in shock. Your brother owns Willow's Diner? Sarah nodded. He does. And when I told him about you, he insisted I thank you properly. But this, she gestured toward the envelope, is from me. Emily watched as Sarah left the diner, her polished demeanor blending seamlessly with the quiet evening outside. Sitting in the booth, the envelope still in her hands, Emily felt a surge of gratitude and awe. It wasn't just the money that moved her, it was the act of kindness behind it. As she walked home later that night, the streetlights casting long shadows on the pavement, Emily felt something she hadn't in a long time: hope. The days following Sarah Bennett's visit were unlike anything Emily Carter had experienced before. The check Sarah left behind had been a lifeline, relieving a burden Emily had carried for months. For the first time in what felt like forever, she paid her rent on time, caught up on overdue utility bills, and even managed to set a little aside for her dream of attending nursing school. But more than the financial relief, it was Sarah's words that lingered in Emily's mind. Promise me you'll keep being who you are. Keep spreading kindness. Emily tried to go back to her usual rhythm at the diner. But something had shifted. Every interaction, every customer she served, felt imbued with a deeper sense of purpose. She couldn't shake the feeling that her life was beginning to move in a direction she hadn't dared to hope for. Then, on a quiet afternoon during the lull between lunch and dinner, the diner door chimed again. Emily glanced up from wiping down a table and froze. A tall, well-dressed man with neatly combed hair and an air of quiet confidence stood in the doorway. His suit, though understated, spoke of someone accustomed to boardrooms and important decisions. Emily straightened her apron and approached him with her usual professional demeanor. Hi there. Table for one? The man smiled warmly. Actually, I'm here to meet you. Are you Emily Carter? Emily blinked, surprised. Yes, that's me. How can I help you? I'm Michael Bennett, he said, extending his hand. Sarah's brother. I believe she told you about me. Her breath caught slightly. You're the owner of the diner chain. That's right. Michael replied, his smile kind but purposeful. Sarah told me what you did for her and her kids. And I knew I had to meet you in person. Emily blushed, feeling suddenly self-conscious. It really wasn't anything. I just wanted to help. Michael gestured to a booth by the window. Do you have a moment to sit down? I promise I won't take much of your time. She hesitated, glancing around the diner. Maria, her co-worker, gave her a quick thumbs up from behind the counter. Emily nodded and led Michael to the booth, sitting down across from him. Michael leaned forward slightly, his expression earnest. What you did for my sister wasn't just a simple gesture. You didn't just pay for their meal, you gave them dignity in a moment when they felt vulnerable. That's rare, Emily. Most people would have looked the other way or made them feel worse. Emily fidgeted with the hem of her apron, unsure how to respond. I've been in their shoes before, she said quietly. I know what it's like to feel stuck. Even when you're trying your best. It just felt like the right thing to do. Michael studied her for a moment. His eyes thoughtful. Sarah was right about you. You're not just hardworking, you're compassionate. That's why I wanted to thank you personally. And he added, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket and sliding it across the table. I'd like to offer you something. Emily stared at the envelope. Her heart racing. What is this? It's a scholarship fund we started for employees who show exceptional character. Michael explained. I want you to use it to pursue whatever dreams you've put on hold. Her eyes widened as she opened the envelope and saw the details of the scholarship. Tears welled up as she whispered, I've always wanted to become a nurse. But I've never had the money or time to make it happen. Michael's smile widened. Then let this be the first step. The world needs more nurses like you, people who lead with compassion. Emily was speechless. The envelope felt heavy in her hands. Not just because of its contents but because of what it represented, hope, possibility, and the belief that someone saw her potential. I don't know how to thank you, she said finally, her voice trembling. Michael leaned back. His tone gentle but firm. You don't need to thank me. Just promise to keep being the person you are and to use this opportunity to do something amazing. As Michael stood to leave, he extended his hand again. I'll be keeping an eye on your progress. Emily, if you ever need advice or support, don't hesitate to reach out. She shook his hand, her gratitude spilling over into a radiant smile. Thank you. I won't waste this opportunity. I know you won't, Michael said, his confidence in her clear. As Emily watched him leave, the weight of doubt that had so often pressed on her shoulders began to lift. For the first time in years, her dream of becoming a nurse didn't feel like a distant, unattainable hope. It felt real, tangible, and within her grasp. The following morning, Emily Carter woke up to a bright, clear sky and a renewed sense of purpose. She sat at her small kitchen table, a cup of coffee warming her hands, and stared at the scholarship documents spread out before her. It still felt surreal, as though it had all been a dream, yet here it was. In black and white, a chance to change her life. A chance to finally pursue the nursing career she had dreamed of for so long. Emily's first step was researching nursing programs. She spent hours poring over information about local community colleges and nursing schools, her laptop humming softly as she clicked through page after page. Every detail excited her, the course descriptions, the clinical opportunities, even the photos of students in crisp white uniforms. She imagined herself among them, finally doing something meaningful, something that mattered. But along with the excitement came a gnawing sense of doubt. It had been years since she'd set foot in a classroom. Could she handle the workload? Could she balance school with her shifts at the diner? And would she, a girl from a small town, really belong in a professional field like nursing? The doubts didn't stop her from moving forward. Encouraged by the memory of Michael's confidence in her and Sarah's heartfelt gratitude, Emily submitted an application to a well-regarded nursing program at Cedarville Community College. The waiting, however, was agony. Every time her phone buzzed with a new email notification, her heart leapt into her throat, only to sink when it wasn't the one she was waiting for. Life at the diner continued, but Emily found herself approaching her work with a new energy. She greeted customers with even brighter smiles, her steps quicker and her demeanor more confident. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was working toward something greater. Even the mundane tasks, wiping down tables, refilling coffee, and carrying trays, took on a sense of purpose, as if they were fueling her journey. It was on a chilly Tuesday evening, after a particularly busy shift, that the email finally came. Emily sat on her small sofa, exhausted but unable to resist checking her phone one last time. The subject line hit her like a jolt of electricity. Congratulations on your acceptance. Her hands trembled as she opened the email, her eyes scanning the words in disbelief. She had been accepted. She was going to nursing school. Tears spilled down her cheeks as the reality of it sank in. She had done it. She had taken the first step toward her dream. The memory of her mother's illness came rushing back. Along with the faces of the nurses who had cared for her so tenderly, Emily thought of Sarah's children. Their wide eyes and innocent laughter. She thought of the countless people she might one day help. People who would need comfort, care, and compassion. The next day at work, Emily couldn't keep the smile off her face. Maria, her co-worker, noticed immediately. "What's going on with you?" Maria teased as Emily wiped down the counter, practically humming. "I got in," Emily said, her voice trembling with excitement. "I got accepted into nursing school." Maria gasped, pulling her into a tight hug. "That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Emily, you're going to be an incredible nurse." The news spread quickly among the diner staff, and the regulars caught on soon after. Many of them offered congratulations, some even slipping extra tips into her jar to help her along the way. Their support buoyed her spirits, reinforcing her belief that she was on the right path. Balancing work and school wasn't easy. Emily adjusted her schedule, taking on fewer shifts and living more frugally to make ends meet. Her evenings were now spent poring over textbooks and practicing medical terminology instead of watching TV or scrolling through her phone. There were nights when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, but the thought of her future kept her going. Sarah Bennett remained a steady presence in her life. One afternoon, Sarah stopped by the diner with a small package. "I thought you could use a little encouragement," Sarah said as she handed Emily the gift. Inside was a leather-bound notebook with a handwritten note tucked between the pages. "Emily, for the moments when the road feels hard, remember why you started. You have what it takes to make a difference. With admiration, Sarah." Emily's eyes filled with tears as she held the notebook close. "Thank you, Sarah. This means so much to me. You're going to be an incredible nurse," Sarah said with a warm smile. "And don't forget, you have people who believe in you." The notebook became Emily's constant companion, a place to jot down notes, reflections, and reminders of her journey. Whenever she felt discouraged, she would read Sarah's note and remember why she had started. As weeks turned into months, Emily found herself thriving in her classes. Though the workload was intense, she loved every moment of it. Her instructors noticed her dedication, and her classmates often turned to her for help, sensing her natural compassion and eagerness to learn. One evening, as she walked home from the diner under the glow of the streetlights, Emily felt a deep sense of gratitude. Her life was far from easy, but she was finally on the path she had always dreamed of. And every step she took was a testament to the power of kindness, both given and received. The months that followed were some of the most challenging of Emily Carter's life. But they were also the most rewarding. Nursing school was everything she had hoped for, demanding, enlightening, and deeply fulfilling. Each day brought new lessons, not only about medicine and patient care but also about herself and her ability to persevere. Her mornings began before sunrise, with a quick cup of coffee and a brisk walk to her first class at Cedarville Community College. After hours of lectures and hands-on clinical training, she would head straight to Willow's Diner to work her evening shifts. The long hours left her physically and mentally drained, but she carried herself with quiet determination, refusing to let fatigue dampen her spirits. Emily's natural compassion quickly set her apart in her nursing program. Her classmates often turned to her for support, not just with coursework but also for emotional encouragement. She had a way of making people feel heard, her warm demeanor and attentive listening earning her the trust and admiration of her peers. Her instructors noticed too. One day, after a particularly grueling clinical rotation, Emily's professor, Dr. Reynolds, pulled her aside. "Emily," he began, his voice thoughtful, "you have a gift. It's not just your ability to grasp the material or your technical skills, though those are impressive. It's the way you connect with people. Your patients already trust you, And that's something you can't teach. Emily blushed. A mixture of pride and humility filling her chest. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. That means a lot. Keep it up, he said with a smile. The world needs more nurses like you. Despite the encouragement, there were moments when Emily's resolve was tested. The demands of her dual life as a student and a waitress often felt overwhelming. There were nights when she came home so exhausted that she fell asleep with her textbooks still open. Balancing the two worlds was like walking a tightrope. And there were days when she wondered if she was setting herself up to fail. One particularly difficult evening at the diner, Emily found herself snapping at Maria over a misplaced order. Maria, always patient, simply placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. Take a breath. Emily, she said gently, you're doing so much. It's okay to feel overwhelmed sometimes. Emily felt tears prick her eyes. I'm sorry, Maria. Sometimes it feels like too much. I don't want to let anyone down. Maria smiled. You're not letting anyone down. And you don't have to do this alone. We're all rooting for you. The words stayed with Emily, a reminder that she wasn't as alone as she sometimes felt. It gave her the strength to push forward, even on the hardest days. The turning point came during a clinical rotation at Cedarville General Hospital. Emily was assigned to shadow a nurse on the pediatric floor, a place filled with both laughter and heartbreak. One afternoon, she was tasked with comforting a young boy named Tommy, who was awaiting surgery. Tommy was scared and refused to let go of his mother's hand. Emily knelt by his bedside, her voice gentle. Hi, Tommy. My name's Emily. I know this is a little scary, but I promise you're in good hands. Tommy looked at her with wide, tear-filled eyes. Will it hurt? Emily smiled softly. The doctors are going to make sure you're comfortable the whole time. And when you wake up, I'll be right here to tell you how brave you are. Her words seemed to soothe him, and he finally released his grip on his mother's hand. After the surgery, Emily was there as promised, holding his hand and praising his courage. It was a small moment, but it reaffirmed why she had chosen this path. Emily wanted to be the person who made people feel safe, cared for, and seen when they needed it most. Meanwhile, Sarah Bennett continued to check in on Emily's progress. She stopped by the diner one evening, this time alone, and slid into a booth near the counter. How's school going? Sarah asked as Emily brought her a cup of tea. It's tough, Emily admitted, sitting across from her. But I love it. I feel like I'm finally doing what I'm meant to do. Sarah smiled, her pride evident. I knew you would. You have something special. Emily, something that can't be taught. It's your heart. Emily laughed softly. You and your brother seem to have a lot of faith in me. It's not faith, Sarah said firmly. It's knowing. I've seen what you're capable of. You're going to be amazing. Sarah handed Emily a small package. Inside was a pair of gold-plated nursing pins, one engraved with Emily's initials. I saw these and thought of you, Sarah explained. I know you'll wear them with pride one day. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she held the pins. Thank you, Sarah. I don't know how I can ever repay you for everything you've done. Sarah smiled. You already have. Just promise me you'll keep paying it forward. That evening, Emily placed the pins on her nightstand, where they caught the soft glow of her bedside lamp. They became a daily reminder of her journey and the people who believed in her. As the weeks turned into months, Emily's confidence grew. She began to see herself not just as a student or a waitress, but as a future nurse. The long hours and sleepless nights were still challenging, but they no longer felt insurmountable. She was building a life of purpose, one act of kindness and determination at a time. Emily Carter's journey through nursing school was nearing its final chapter, and the world she had once seen as daunting was now filled with possibilities. The days were long, her responsibilities heavy, but each step forward reaffirmed her belief in the path she had chosen. She juggled clinical rotations, long nights of studying, and shifts at Willow's diner with a determination that inspired everyone around her. One crisp spring afternoon, Emily was finishing her rounds at Cedarville General Hospital when her phone buzzed with an email notification. She glanced down and saw the subject line, "Pinning ceremony information." Her heart skipped a beat. It was real. In just a few weeks, she would graduate and earn her nursing pin, a symbol of everything she had worked so hard for. That evening, as she wiped down tables at the diner, her coworker Maria noticed her glowing smile. "What's got you so cheerful?" Maria teased. Leaning on the counter, Emily grinned. "I got the details for my pinning ceremony. It's finally happening." Maria's face lit up. "That's incredible. You've worked so hard for this. Emily, we're all so proud of you." The news quickly spread among the diner staff, and even the regular customers chimed in with congratulations. Some shared their own stories of nurses who had made a difference in their lives. And Emily listened with a mixture of pride and humility. In the weeks leading up to the ceremony, Emily found herself reflecting on how far she had come. She thought about Sarah Bennett and the night she had chosen to cover a stranger's meal, a seemingly small act of kindness that had set her on this extraordinary journey. She thought about Michael Bennett's words, reminding her that her compassion was her greatest strength. On the morning of the pinning ceremony, Emily stood in front of her small mirror, adjusting the crisp white uniform she had dreamt of wearing for so long. Her hair was neatly pulled back, and the gold-plated nursing pins Sarah had given her gleamed on her collar. She took a deep breath, steadying her nerves, and thought of her mother, whose struggle and resilience had first inspired Emily's dream of becoming a nurse. The ceremony was held in the college's auditorium, and the room was packed with proud families, friends, and faculty. As Emily walked onto the stage to receive her pin, she scanned the crowd and was stunned to see Sarah and Michael Bennett sitting near the back, clapping enthusiastically. She hadn't expected them to come, but their presence filled her heart with gratitude. After the ceremony, Emily made her way through the crowd, her nursing pin gleaming under the auditorium lights. Sarah greeted her first, pulling her into a warm hug. "Look at you, Nurse Carter," Sarah said, her voice full of pride. "We knew you could do it." Michael stepped forward, extending his hand with a broad smile. "Congratulations, Emily. You've worked so hard for this, and you deserve every bit of it." Emily shook his hand, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you for everything. I wouldn't be here without you and Sarah." Michael shook his head. "You give us too much credit. You're the one who did the work, who never gave up. We just gave you a little push." Sarah nodded, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "And you turned that push into something incredible. I can't wait to see all the lives you'll touch." Later that evening, Emily celebrated with her friends and co-workers at the diner. Maria had decorated the counter with balloons, and regular customers stopped by to offer their congratulations. Emily felt a profound sense of belonging, surrounded by people who had supported her every step of the way. Her first job as a nurse was at Cedarville General Hospital, where she quickly became known for her compassion and skill. Patients often commented on how she seemed to genuinely care, taking the time to listen and comfort them in ways that went beyond her professional duties. For Emily, every act of kindness she performed was a way of repaying the kindness she had received. One afternoon, as she was finishing her rounds, Emily noticed a familiar face in the waiting room. It was Sarah, this time with her youngest child, now a few years older. "Sarah," Emily exclaimed, hurrying over. "What brings you here?" Sarah smiled, gesturing to her child, who held a small bandaged hand. "Just a minor accident at the playground. I thought I'd get it checked out to be safe." Emily crouched down to the child's level, her voice soothing. "Let me take a look." After examining the hand and ensuring it was just a scrape, Emily turned back to Sarah. "All good. You've got a brave one here." Sarah reached out, squeezing Emily's arm. "You're amazing. You know that." I couldn't be prouder of you. Emily blushed but smiled. Thank you, Sarah. That means so much coming from you. In the years that followed, Emily continued to pay kindness forward. She volunteered at community health clinics, mentored nursing students, and always went out of her way to make others feel seen and cared for. Sarah and Michael remained a part of her life, their bond deepening over time. Emily often thought about how that one small decision to help Sarah and her children had changed her life. It was proof of the ripple effect of kindness, a single act that had grown into something far greater than she could have imagined. As she walked home one evening, her nursing bag slung over her shoulder and the glow of streetlights illuminating her path, Emily reflected on her journey. She knew the road ahead would have its challenges. But she also knew one thing for certain: she would continue to spread kindness, one act of compassion at a time. In the end, Emily Carter's journey proved that kindness has the power to transform lives in unimaginable ways. From a small-town waitress struggling to make ends meet, she became a nurse whose compassion touched countless lives. Every patient she cared for, every student she mentored, and every act of kindness she paid forward was a testament to the ripple effect of love and empathy. Her story reminds us that even the smallest gestures can create waves of change, not only for others but for ourselves. Emily's unwavering dedication and the support of people like Sarah and Michael Bennett helped her realize her dreams and inspired everyone around her to believe in the power of giving. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories for more heartwarming tales that celebrate the strength of the human spirit.